Tankers? Welcome back to another one of my videos. I am Blitz, and today I'm going to be talking about the Vulcan, which is the brand new Tier 7 Unidentified Nation Premium Heavy Tank that has just hit the stores for $30 US. Now that's quite a hefty price tag. So as always, I'm going to be telling you guys about the tank, how to run it, where to run it, and of course whether or not it is worth that $30 price tag. Now, straight off the bat, I'm going to say that it's not a great tank. It's not overpowered in any means. I know the tank, I thought it was going to be overpowered myself. I know a lot of you guys probably thought this was just going to be another BS overpowered tank that Wargaming was creating. However, I really don't think it's that overpowered, and Meadsy doesn't either, and neither do any of the people that probably play this tank currently. It's not overpowered in any means, which is good. I'm actually happy about the tank. Now, I am disappointed in the way the tank plays and just really the characteristics overall on it, but I'm proud of Wargaming for not introducing an overpowered tank at Tier 7 and just putting it in crates or something like that. They actually released a tank that's not overpowered, earns pretty decent credits, and does okay in the battle. It's definitely not a tank to carry teams, though, and you know what, I'm not that frustrated about the tank. Now, personally, I'm going to tell you guys whether it's worth it, because, as you also know, the Lupus is out in the store for 7,500 gold, and pretty much all the other Sega tanks are. And personally, I think that every single one of them are better than this. I think really that the Vulcan is the worst batch. First of all, I think the Vulcan is the ugliest tank in the game. I think it completely just shatters the Lupus's old place of ugliest. It's the ugliest thing I can possibly think of. It's just so hideous. It just looks like a trash bag. It's just awful. I don't know why it's so ugly. I wish it wasn't, because I really don't like to run ugly tanks. I don't mind the Sega tanks. I don't mind the Valkyrie Chronicles. I don't think the Lupus looks terrible, to be honest. But compared to this, it's just awful. I'm not sure why it's so ugly, but ignoring that, talking about the tank, it's not spectacular in any means. Now, it does have a pretty nice gun, 350 average damage, which is a very, very nice average damage to have in Tier 7. It has 1900 damage per minute, which also isn't that bad, and this is one of the few tanks I do not run calibrated on, just because it doesn't get much penetration with the APCR added when you do put on the calibrated. So, overall, I don't mind the tank at all in battles. It's definitely not a bad tank, but the question you guys are wanting to know is it worth the price tag? And, to be honest, no. It's not worth it. It's average at best, and it's not exciting to run. This is the kind of tank that you're going to run for 20-30 games in a row, and then you're going to get bored of it and never play it again, because first of all, it has absolutely zero armor. It is like running VK2801. It's just absolutely zero armor. I've blocked 400 damage this entire game, and I've received probably 6 shells worth of damage. It just will not bounce shells. The front plate is sitting at like 170 millimeters thick. Any tier 8 will pen you, any tier 7 will pen you, pretty much any tier 6 will pen you as long as they aim for your weak spots. So the armor on this tank is pretty much abysmal. I wouldn't try to do anything with the armor. And you may think, well, the turret looks like it has some decent armor. No, it's like 180 millimeters thick. So don't even try to bounce shots on this tank. It's really not worth it. But it is a fairly quick tank at that. The tank has a top speed of 36 kilometers per hour, and that's not a very fast top speed. The Lupus actually goes around the exact same speed. However, this tank has a very, very good power to weight ratio, pretty much making it seem like a medium tank, and that, to be honest, is probably just because it has so little armor, they made it a very, very quick tank. Now, overall, as I said, I don't think it's worth it, just because right now you can buy a Lupus, which in my opinion is one of the most broken tanks, tier for tier, in the game. I'd probably put it right below the Smasher. It's that broken. I wouldn't put it above the Helsing, but it's definitely in that area. And the fact that the Lupus is cheaper than the Vulcan by quite a bit really shows that the Vulcan is just not worth it, in my opinion. First of all, the Lupus has 12 degrees gun depression. The Vulcan only has 6 degrees. And I really think that's the killer for this tank, is it just has such awful gun depression. You just can't shoot anyone. You try and run this tank, which is a very tall tank, and the issue with tall tanks is that when they have very little gun depression, it makes it a very tough time to shoot at tanks, when you're angling up hills or just anything with a slight angle, because you're so tall that it just makes it so much harder to aim down compared to where when you're in like a low down tank like the Y5 ELCs, you're very low down in general, so your gun is pointed already pretty low at the ground. So if a tank like that had very little gun depression, it wouldn't matter as much. But because this tank's so tall, I feel like it should have just had a little bit more gun depression. Maybe only 8 degrees, only 2 more than it really has. But 2 degrees makes a big difference, and it really does. And I feel that this tank it's not really fun to run. There's nothing spectacular about it. The gun is good. I'll give it that. It does have a nice gun. But you can see here, I'm just getting pummeled all over. And you will get the occasional bounce because it does have some troll armor. It's quite funky looking, which is going to, get some funky bounces on it. But once players figure out how to shoot at this thing, it's definitely going to be a very, very easy target to take out. The rear of this tank, I think, is only like 40, 50 millimeters thick. So really, you're going to be able to get shot with high explosive pretty much everywhere. But you can see here, I'm running the tank effectively. I'm blocking some shells, already dealt 1200 damage. You can see, though, that reload is quite long, especially when you're trying to output just that little bit of damage. I'm still waiting, and I finally got my shot in there, only doing 87 damage because that reload just took so long to get out. And to be honest, I wouldn't run this tank like a heavy if you do pick it up. It's definitely not really like a heavy tank. It's more like a medium. You can see this game I flank just like the mediums. I'm actually, shooting the enemy in the rear just like you would do in a medium tank. And because I've got a bigger alpha, I'm not as scared of the enemy tanks. That's one nice liberty about this, is that you do more damage than pretty much like 50%, 60% of the tanks you're going to go up against. And even like 60, 70% of the heavies you're going to do more damage than. And that's really a good feeling because you can trade shells with enemy mediums and deal quite a bit more damage back up and use your speed. And this tank's actually fairly good at ramming. So overall, it's definitely not a bad tank. But again, it's just not worth the price. I wouldn't suggest to buy it. $30 is too expensive. If it was $20, I'd say, you know what? It's not that bad of a tank. Go out, get it. It will be fun. You'll earn some credits. It's not overpowered. Therefore, I do stand by Wargaming's selling of this tank. However, it's not $20, it's more than 20, and that's quite a bit of money. That takes a long time to earn. For my job right now, I work at Starbucks. That would have taken me 3 hours just to earn this one tank. That's a lot of time. And personally, I wouldn't want to waste, hard-earned money on this tank. Well, I did. That's the sad part, but personally, just don't get it. Buy the Lupus if you don't own the Lupus. It's just such a better tank. And I'm going to make a video on the Lupus this week because it is out in the store, and you just wait until you see how broken that thing is. I literally played like 2 games in it, and I did 3,000 in both games. It's just ridiculous with that gun depression it gets. And this game you see here, 3,100 was the most damage I could pull out in the tank. Out of like, I'd say 10 games. I didn't do a crazy amount of games, and I'm sitting at like a 75% win rate. But really, just not a bad tank, not a good tank. I'd put it right in between. And to be honest, I don't mind it that much. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. As always, make sure to leave a like if you did. If you didn't like it, make sure to tell me why in the comments down below. I always love reading your comments and suggestions and criticism. Other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next one.